Fondation Jean-Jaurès.
Penser pour agir.
The French presidency of the Council has just come to an end in very turbulent times. The return of geopolitics, the war in Ukraine, the environmental transition, and the crisis of liberal democracies are only some of the new challenges faced by the European Union. In the Western Balkans, these challenges pile up tragically and make progress towards accession particularly necessary. To discuss how the EU and Kosovo can navigate in this geopolitical age, I received today Arberesha Loxha. Arberesha, you are the Executive Director of the Group for Legal and Political Studies in Prishtina, a leading think tank. And I am Florent, Director of the Observatory Balkans at the Fondation Jean-Jaurès. Arberesha, hi, good morning.
Hello. Pleasure joining you today.
You have just published a study on France, Kosovo, and the Western Balkans in the making of a stronger Europe. 2 weeks ago, we had the European Council summit, and there has been some disappointment, although some milestones have been put for the countries in the Eastern Europe. What is your assessment of this summit and the EU Western Balkan High-Level Conference?
Well, mainly disappointment, actually. Given the lack of clear perspectives for the Western Balkans and the power vacuum left by the EU in the region, and on the other hand, geopolitical rivals stepping in already their level of engagement at the expense of EU, we were actually waiting, or we were clearly expecting for the EU to definitely show a clearer accession perspectives. What does this mean in the realm of Russian invasion in Ukraine? The risks and vulnerabilities and the disruptive implications in the region are not going to be countered without a clearer engagement of the EU, especially in support of countries that are most devoted and pro-European integration, such as Kosovo. What we saw was that Kosovo was not granted visa liberalization. Albania and North Macedonia, again, did not open negotiations. So nothing with regards to Bosnia and Herzegovina's EU perspective. So for the whole region, it was really, really disappointing because we were expecting for the EU to act and show that the Western Balkans have a clear perspective and in fact give something tangible to them. But this did not happen. Although France has in a way stepped up its game by putting more efforts to convince Bulgaria on its veto against North Macedonia in order to unblock the opening of negotiations with Albania and North Macedonia. However, nothing concrete in this regard.
Yes, we do remain a little bit in this stalled situation where it's very difficult to find the political will and the political dynamic so to move forward. What, according to you, would enable this dynamic of EU accession to be unblocked?
Member states should be capable of, in fact, initially presenting a united front on such modest issues such as visa liberalization, for instance, on Kosovo. And then they should present a united front of what kind of geopolitical challenges can the EU strive to address? What strategic autonomy can it demonstrate? What is the leadership that it can project? And this, in fact, would help the EU strengthen its international position, both in the region, but also against the backdrop of mounting geopolitical challenges. And in the study, we have laid out a set of recommendations on how this can be achieved. So, if you allow me, I can elaborate on them, or if you like to have another question.
Yeah, so one question maybe about this geopolitical engagement and the leadership you're calling the EU on showing, demonstrating. The EU is getting more engaged in Eastern Europe, where the geopolitical environment is even more sensitive. There is an open war in Ukraine. How do you assess this willingness to engage so in Eastern Europe when indeed in the Western Balkans it faces these issues of unity? You mentioned the Arabization, but there's also the non-recognition of Kosovo, yes, which clearly hampers its geopolitical vision.
Indeed. It is very concerning because maybe the Western Balkans do not pose an immediate threat, maybe to its to the peace of Europe, as the Ukraine and the other countries you mentioned maybe do, mainly due to the closer or to the proximity to Ukraine. However, the Western Balkans should not be taken for granted because the influence that Russia aims to impose, but China as well, should not be undermined. That's why we really are concerned of negligence, in my opinion, that the EU is projecting towards the Western Balkans, contrary to the Ukraine and the rest of the countries nearby.
A small question. Of course, there is one side of these aspects of these questions which lies on the EU's responsibilities to strengthen its unity and so on. But on the other side, in the region, we do have a lot of affinities. If you think about Serbia, so towards Russia, and also just autocratic developments. So how do we foster? How do we find allies in the region to side with? In these geopolitical contexts?
I think EU should first show that it can keep its promises, but on the other hand, to strengthen its conditionality. So asking the country's leadership to act on and to fulfill the reform processes and obligations set in the EU integration process, but on the other hand, deliver, because what these leaders of the Western Balkans, especially Serbia, are doing, they're in a way playing in two fronts. Whoever gives something, they go and take it. Whatever Russia is in a way aiming to offer Serbia to keep them as an ally, they're going for that. But on the other hand, EU as well. So they're actually playing both of the games, which is being tolerated by the EU, in fact. And it could be, in my opinion, very easily mitigated.
So more conditionality could sharpen a little bit this impact or this influence of the EU. Let's come back and conclude with that, with the role of France. France has signaled its ambition to re-engage in the region. How do you assess these attempts and these efforts at re-engaging?
Well, I hope they will provide results, because thus far we only have seen France, especially with regards to Kosovo, but the Western Balkans as such, being only impeding the perspective, in my opinion, because France has in general been anti enlargement, hence has proposed initiatives, methodology, like proposal of the new methodology, which have only shifted attention from the real enlargement itself, but just buying some time, in my opinion. And I hope this is not the case this time. And I hope the intentions are really sincere to help Western Balkans move forward. It is very important for us as the region to have the EU conditionality and the accession process itself to benefit our democratization, our reform processes in general, not only for the aim of joining EU per se, but for the process itself, for the transformation it offers and the perspective it offers for these countries to democratize and develop.
Thank you, Arberesha. So it shows difficult to sum up, but the EU would need to sharpen a little bit its mindset, its European mindset in the Western Balkans. Of course, the situation in the East is extremely dramatic, but in the Western Balkans it's not taken as granted, as you said. Mm-hmm. It needs to strengthen its conditionality approach to face these issues with autocrats. And the member states, influential one like France, needs to step up also their game in the commitments. So thank you, Arberesha, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much for the invitation. My pleasure.
Fondation Jean-Jaurès. Penser pour agir.